If I knew food would work, I had to consider him as an individual. What food would work for Dougie? Forget what everybody else is doing. And I'm pretty like, when I get set in my ways, I get set in my ways. So I was set to heal him, and I was set that food would work. I think that's very important intention. So quickly on, I learned that the digestive bacteria in your gut create your health, and that there's a huge connection with digestive infections like called Candida, which is a systemic yeast infection that is common among almost all autistic children. And I've worked with over 300 children on the autism spectrum over the last few years, and most of them have Candida, which is that yeast infection. And so we learn to treat our body from the gut first when we're talking about food. What food we eat should be good for our guts. So now we eat for best digestion. These are some of the foods that were important to our healing, but if you were to work with me, I would help you figure out what would be good for you. Fermented foods were key for us because they contain the bacteria needed to recolonize your gut. When Dougie was on antibiotic after antibiotic, destroyed all of the good bacteria and all of the good yeast in the gut, and these probiotic foods put it back in. The probiotic foods are also pre-digested, so that means that the body doesn't have to work to digest. About 80% of your energy, even right now, if you're sitting there and you're tired, you might be digesting something. That might be why you're tired. When you eat fermented foods, they're pre-digested. And when you have autism, you need all of the energy you could possibly get. So fermented foods were like the bomb for us. Now, we found coconut kefir and cultured vegetables through the body ecology diet. But first I learned about fermented foods before I learned about body ecology. And I tried making cultured vegetables. They were delicious. They made no difference in my son. We cut up cabbage and beets and garlic. We added salt. We closed the jar. We kept it for a couple weeks. It smelled the house up, but I liked the way it tasted. It was good, delicious. No difference in my son. Yes, he did try it. But I was able to sweeten it with a little stevia powder. That's how I got him to eat a lot of this stuff, was with a little herbal sweetener. So I knew the probiotics were right, but I was like, why is this not working? Then I found body ecology, and that was a serendipitous moment in itself. And I found that they make these culture starters that are more rich in the particular bacteria that he happened to need. And so we found the right culture starters for him, because 1 week of coconut kefir, return of eye contact. 1 week. And that was like, okay, day one, I give him a teaspoon. Day two, I was like, I'm giving this kid like a pint. I don't know how much I gave him a lot. And in time, I realized I had to cut down on how much I gave him. And this is just to kind of let you know, I wanted to show you some of the food we use, and the title was, How Does Food Affect Autism? I wanted to just give you some like real facts about what happened with us. This doesn't happen with everybody. But a direct correlation. 2 years later, he had bio-age algae, a specific brand of algae, for 1 day, and he buttoned his shirt for the first time. There was also, when he was 3, at his 3rd birthday, he was still wearing a diaper and he wasn't speaking. A couple days later, I introduced algae to him, a superfood. He went potty, never had an accident ever. Never, still has never had an accident. So it's like a direct correlation with some food that I added showed progress. There's also been things like balance. And also he's had words come out after going to the bathroom, after taking a very big dump, because this diet is so detoxing, and he really had a lot of crap, like bad stuff in him. And when it would come out, like some of his first words were when he was on the toilet, I'm Dougie, I'm 4 years old. He began talking when he was 4, he began talking again.
Just a reminder, folks, the show does not...
my presentation kind of got a little cut off, but let me see here.
Please do not break down your booths before 5 p.m.
So, the basic idea is that food was the beginning for us. It helped clear our minds. The I can work as a medical intuitive is because we all have the ability to do that. We all have the ability to connect on a vibrational level. But sometimes the food we eat actually prohibits that. And so food was the beginning, but then energy and spirituality and everything else that just kind of like stemmed, after that. And he keeps getting better and better every day. Does anybody have any questions about what we did or what you can do?
Please stay with the booth until 5 p.m. Thank you.
Doesn't fermented vegetables feed?
Do fermented vegetables feed candida? Well, that's a great question because I had candida first. I had it before my son was diagnosed. I was diagnosed. And I went to a naturopathic doctor. She said, "You have candida. It's a yeast infection. You cannot have fermented food." I said, "Oh man, I really love pickles." And no, you can't because there's this like wild bacteria in there, wild yeast that can feed candida. Yes, some can. Like if you make your fermented vegetables wild, it's possible for bacteria to get in there that can feed candida. Even if you make it with starters, it's possible that something could come in. But the bacteria that's natural on raw vegetables will not feed it. And when you make it wild, that bacteria just kind of comes in there and starts eating away at the sugars, and it comes to life, and then you eat it. Okay. The best thing that I found to get rid of candida were the controlled culture starters made by Body Ecology. They just are nature plus more nature in a package. Okay, I don't really believe in packaged food, and I didn't even like the idea of having to get coconuts because I like to try to eat locally and stuff. But that is what really helped us. Some people cannot do fermented foods. People on my healing program, they can't do fermented foods. So it really is, like everyone else is saying, it's really a personal thing. You may not be able to, and you may come to, you may not be able to now, but you may come to a point in your healing where you can, and it does help. But the probiotics made by Body Ecology, they do not feed yeast, nor do the probiotics already on your cabbage, already on your carrots. Those do not feed yeast. It's like if something gets in the batch. As far as I know.
Hello.
Hi.
Did you give your son, or did you put him on any multivitamins or any type of supplements like that?
No. I did everything with food, but I did learn what deficiencies he had. Then I went and researched what foods had those vitamins in them. Truth be told, if you're just eating a good diet with all your greens and all your colors, you're going to get all your you're going to get all your vitamins. But with autism, you're usually so deficient that you do need more, and many people use supplements. I found that I'm just really guided to do everything naturally. That's just my path. But what I would do is I would take whatever vitamins, minerals he needed, and I would ferment that food. So then it became, oh my gosh, like 500 times more powerful. So for example, if I ferment kale, and kale's full of vitamin C, that's going to be like up the roof amount of vitamin C after I ferment it. And again, it's pre-digested, so that means that his body can just take it in, and then his body can relax. I'm not against supplements, because these kids are so sick. Sometimes they need them, and sometimes they won't eat kale, and their parents have to get whatever works for you.
Hi. Is there a test for candida?
Yes, there is, but we all have candida in our system, so we all have it. It's a yeast that's in there to help you decompose when you die. That's one of its jobs. Its job is also to kill off other kinds of parasites and stuff in you. You have a whole beautiful system of bugs. If we had microscopic vision, all I would look at you and just see bugs. You have bugs all over you, So it's not to be scared of. It's an overgrowth of candida that's to be scared of. And funny enough, the reason why candida becomes overload is because it thinks you're dying. It's because for whatever reason your blood is acidic, and this could again be from, whatever toxins are loaded in your body. My son had mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, a host of other things that I really wanted to show, but I didn't have a slide for that.
Could you share with us how you make the coconut kefir? Or how you ferment things?
It's very easy, and I do have recipes on my website. But basically what it is starting with the coconut kefir, use young coconuts, so the ones that are green on the outside, and then you cut it off and it's white. You take that water and you add in a culture starter. Like I said, I like body ecology culture starters. There's others that you can find at the store. And you let it sit in a closed container, in a sterile closed container for about 2 days. And it gets all white and bubbly, and it tastes kind of like champagne. It's very, very good. And when you buy it, the directions are actually also in the box. It's super easy. You really can't make a mistake, because if, let's say you try it and you think it didn't ferment, don't throw it away. Just add more coconut water, maybe even another starter. With the vegetables, it's an ancient thing. You can either just shred up whatever veggies you like, carrots, cauliflower, kale, whatever you like. If you like it not fermented, you probably like it fermented. If you don't like it, you may not like it, because it gets more intense. Garlic is very intense, but I love it fermented. So you can shred up the veggies that you like, or don't even shred them, keep them whole if you like. It just takes longer when they're whole. And you make a brine with water and veggie juice. You can add salt. Some people add salt, I don't. Some people ferment with salt. That's a whole other way of fermenting. I add starter cultures. And again, I use the starter cultures because they worked for us and they've tried other ways. And I'll still eat cultured vegetables that have been made traditionally, like with salt. But they just haven't been, they're delicious, but they just haven't been, healing for us. You ferment at room temperature. The bacteria will ferment at about 70 to 90 degrees, or 75 to 90 degrees. It'll die like at 95 and above. And when it's below 70, it'll be sleeping. So you put it in the fridge to go to sleep. But you want to, when you're fermenting it, you take it out, you leave it out. And it does have to be at a steady temperature. Otherwise, what happens is ferment and then stop fermenting, ferment, stop fermenting. That's when the bad stuff, like you were asking, that's when like the pathogenic bacteria and pathogenic yeast can take a hold.
Sorry.
Well, first of all, I like your website. And then also, if you leave the fermented stuff in the refrigerator too long, does it get bad after a while?
Well, like I said, the bacteria is going to go to sleep. So think about it as like a way of preserving your food. But they're still alive, so they're eating. They're eating the sugar that's in the food. Pretty soon there's going to be no sugar in the food. They're going to eat up the food, and after a long, long, long time, yeah, they could go bad. But if you think you're going to have a bunch in your fridge and you're not going to be home, you could put a little raw honey or a raw sweetener in there to give them more food to eat, and that's good. Because then the bacteria become more alive and, more abundant too. Blissedlife.com. It's BLISSED life.com. Okay, thank you. If anybody has, questions, find me. I'm here. I want to support you.
Thank you so much for coming out here and speaking with us. So I hope you guys found this very informative and informational, and hopefully you guys will take some of this information home with you and learn how to eat a little bit healthier in your daily lives. So thank you guys so much for coming out. She will be around if you'd like to speak with her, and I know some of our other guests that were speaking here are also around, so make sure that you speak with them if you have any further questions. But thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out at the Healthy Eating Pavilion.